We are recording this webinar and we are starting with our webinar this morning on water heating systems with our guest speakers and with John, who's with Tacoma Power. And we will wait a couple minutes for some folks to get in and join us. And while we are getting people in, I'm going to launch this poll I'll launch the poll and put it on the side so people can answer that. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll leave that up so people can answer it. And then we will also go into introductions. And I will start with introducing myself. I'm Janda. I'm the coordinator at the EnviroHouse, which is now open to the public. And we're open Thursday through Sunday, so hope people will come by. Working today with John Davey from Tacoma Power. Tacoma Power is one of our sponsors. And so John, do you want to tell a little bit about yourself and then you can introduce Steve and Prima?
Yes, I'm one of the conservation program coordinators at Tacoma Power. And what that means is I help implement our rebate programs, loan programs, and pretty much all of our residential energy efficiency and also some multifamily projects. And I've been with Tacoma Power about 1.5 years, and I've been in the industry for about 10 years. So I'd like to introduce Great Northwest Installations and Stephen and Prima. I've been in the industry for about 20 years. And they service Washington, Oregon. They're focused on energy efficiency and getting customers great products, working with utilities to create energy efficiency programs. There you go.
And then Steve and Prima, if you want to tell a little bit more about yourselves, and then I will take us off camera here in a minute, or take me off anyway. And also for those who are with us, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. And that way everybody can see the questions and the answers, and you can copy them at the end. If you can also in the chat, look for the little drop down arrow there by where it says to, and make sure that you have that checked for to everyone instead of just to the presenters. And that way other people can see the questions and the answers. So with that, you guys talk about yourselves and then we'll get started.
You want me to go ahead and, yeah, I'll go ahead and start, Steve. My name is Prima Bratton. I'm with Great Northwest Installations. I'm the program manager here, and I work very closely with Steve on most of our projects. We are a service plumbing company. We focus or specialize in energy efficient product, just like what John said. And our main focus is really to help customers find the best water heater solutions. And we are very happy to be here today. And thank you for spending your time with us.
Alrighty, and I'm Stephen Bratton, again, Great Northwest Installations. Thank you, Prima. And yeah, we pretty much will work with anybody to put in the best water heater that we can. The main thing for us, I think, is just focus on kind of what we're doing this morning, is just making sure that customers are aware and have all the information. It's really important for us to make sure that it's the right fit for everyone. And it's kind of what we're going to go over today, is kind of talk about water heaters and the different types of water heaters. Kind of think about maybe what you have in your home. And if you do know, some people don't actually, but we're going to kind of go through those and just talk a little bit about each type of water heater that's kind of typical for our area.
Okay, I will end the poll now and show the results. Okay, can you see those? Results are electric tank type water heater, 33%, a third of the answers, and natural gas standard tank type water heater for the remaining. And the question, in case for the recorded version, is what type of water heating system do you have? And when I put the last choice in there, which is uncertain, who knew there were so many choices? I was serious about that because there are several in there that I didn't even know existed. So, okay. So we're off screen. You can share your screen now, Steve, and get started.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and stop my video and we'll get the slides up. All righty, hopefully everybody can still hear me.
I can hear you.
Perfect.
I don't see any slides.
Oh, it's sharing. Oh no. Give me just a second.
For those of us just joining us, we are getting started with Steve Broughton, who is sharing our slides. There we go.
Up now? Sorry about that. Alrighty, so again, today we're going to be talking about water heater systems and just the different types that we have in our homes today. So here, just kind of give everybody a quick idea of just how much energy we're using in our homes when it comes to pretty much electricity. And if you can kind of take a peek at this, obviously the largest one is space heating. So that's the heat that we're pretty much using, to heat our homes. Water heaters, again, a very good chunk, pretty much second on the list at 18%. All the other pieces around are just everything else using power in our homes. So, lighting, electronics, computers, televisions, refrigerators on there. You can look down kind of towards the bottom on the left, space cooling. So that's another one that's kind of, up there. Again, thinking of air conditioning and but water heating, for us relating to that is definitely something that we can work with to improve as far as the cost of it within the home. But this gives a good idea of the percentage of what it's taking, to utilize this energy in our homes. Standard type water heaters, again, we did that little questionnaire for you folks, and typical standard tank type water heaters, you're going to see electric or gas. Now there are different types of gas water heaters out there. There's power vents, power direct vents. Also, we do some gas with hydronic heating, kind of getting in the weeds there a little bit, but there are different types of gas. When we look at electric, there's not a lot of options there. Pretty much we have our electric, or what we'll talk about moving forward through the slides. But for gas electric standard tanks, pretty reliable, pretty much set it and forget it. It's kind of what we're all used to, what we pretty much typically would have in our homes. Tank life for these guys are 10 to 15 years. It's kind of just a standard statistic. I seem to find that the older they are, the longer they last. But yeah, 10 to 15 is about what we see. And if your water heater is getting up around 15 years and you haven't had any issues with it yet, proactively, that would be a time to start considering, options. Simple technology is again, set it and forget it. Once this water heater is installed, whether it be gas or electric, you set it to the temperature and it pretty much does what it needs to do. They're pretty much the least efficient though. So that's something to kind of consider. So again, it's the basic standard water heater we've had for years. And cost to operate on these, it does vary, but you're looking at probably around $300 to $600 a year. Again, depending on gas. Gas is definitely going to be much cheaper just because the cost of gas is cheaper to us right now. Electricity is obviously a bit higher. So the next one is tankless water heaters. Not everyone's familiar with these. They're not a standard, tank that's going to sit on the ground. These ones can hang on the wall. They don't store water here. They don't store water like your standard tank would. Tankless can be either electric or gas. So noting here, it says no standby heat loss. So pretty much with a no standby heat loss means that, again, it's not storing water heater. So it's not sitting there and the water can start to cool. And then that's what will engage our water heaters to start heating again. So with a tankless, it's only heating when the water is actually asked to move through it. So when you turn on a tap for your faucet, shower, turn on that hot water, it goes in cold, it comes out hot. Sizing is definitely the most important piece to this. We find that some folks that don't like their tankless, or there's issues with a tankless water heater that maybe not providing enough hot water. Sizing is big. Pretty much in a nutshell, your tank sits with whatever stored water at the capacity that it has. So you can pull the hot water until it's gone. So pretty much any fixture, turn on the house, you've got hot water. With a tankless, it works on gallons per minute. So gallons per minute, basically, we would see anywhere from a range of 6 gallons a minute to say 11 gallons a minute. And just what that means is if you think about all the fixtures in your home and kind of count them up, so like sinks, washing machine can be considered in there, shower, they all have a certain gallons per minute flow that runs through it. So when you size a tankless water heater, you really want to make sure that it's sized to all the fixtures in your home so that you don't run into an issue of running out of hot water while you're in the shower and someone else is using water somewhere else in the home. Cost-wise, when we move from a standard tank system to a tankless system, can be a bit more money. If you don't have a tankless already in your home, then you do kind of like what we call in the industry a conversion. So with a conversion, we're basically taking that tank out and we have to replumb the water lines. The ducting would have to be redone, and typically we would see a new gas line going in. So there's a lot of work to get these in. Benefits though are great, and having pretty much instantaneous hot water. So you ask for hot water, you get it, and pretty much endless as long as you stay within what we talked about a moment ago with that gallons per minute. It's super huge. So noted on the slide for 1 to 2 people. So that would be like a standard tankless unit. Like tanks, we can put in more than 1 unit depending on the size of the home and the demand of water. But being the typical gas tankless water heater, gas prices are much lower right now than say electric. So it'd definitely be very efficient. You're going to save a lot of money operating a tankless versus using electricity. So next we have our hybrid electric water heater. So this again is a storage tank. This is electric water heater with the heat pump on top of it, and that's how it gets its name hybrid. A lot of people are kind of confused on what that means. Some folks think it's electric and gas. It is, and or the heat pump and gas. I get a lot of information back from homeowners as to what their thoughts are on this. But the heat pump water heater is an electric water heater with the heat pump integral. It's part of the water heater. So how this works is very interesting. Like your refrigerator, pulling in air from the space that it's in, your refrigerator creates cold air. This actually, the compressor works to create heat. So it's pulling the heat out of the air. It's using that heat and works with the compressor, works with coolant. And the coolant actually wraps around the tank. There's a pipe that wraps around the tank that actually heats the water from the outside. So it's basically absorbing that heat from the wall of the tank. There are elements on this, again, because it is an electric water heater. So if the heat pump, let's say it's in the garage, some places have storage rooms they have them in, any kind of a space that maybe gets a little cooler in the, say, wintertime, especially in our area, then the elements can come in and take over to make sure that you're not running out of hot water. These have several modes on them as well. So you can use the heat pump, you can use the elements, you can use the combination of them, and definitely a very efficient machine. There's a little bit of noise that comes from it. Again, as we noted, the compressor on top. So you kind of get a little noise from, say, your furnace, your air conditioning, your refrigerator, because they're all mechanical, they're doing something. And it's the same with the heat pump water heater. So you'll hear a little bit of fan noise, and people that get these for the first time, it's a new noise. So it's definitely something that you will notice, but as we find, it's not that bad at all. They're very actually quiet, and they're getting better as the new products are coming along. The other piece to this is that because the heat pump is on top of it, it does release cold air. So as it's bringing the warm air in to heat the system, it's got to push that cold air out. So there's a fan on the side of it. And depending on, again, the space that this water heater is in, you might want to consider ducting it. So it does have a ducting option so that we can blow that cold air to the exterior or push it to another space where that cold air would not be too much of an issue. With that, the cold air is very minimal. It's only happening when the machine is operating. Most people that have these in their homes opt to not do the ducting and are not bothered by that cold air. But every application is different, every home is different, and we want you to be comfortable. So if you ever had one of these installed, we really want to make sure we know where it's going to go and whether we should be ducting that or not. There's a filter on it. We want to clean that filter again because the air comes in and pushes out. There's a filter kind of like your dryer, and it's just for part of the maintenance piece of this water heater. So it does plumb from the side. There's new products coming out that are plumbing from the top. So if you're familiar with your water heater, both the hot and cold water lines come into the top. This heat pump water heater in this photo, you can see if you kind of follow the red and blue lines, they feed to the side. So the cold water feeds in the bottom of the tank and the hot comes out the top. So if you were to have one of these installed in your home, typically there's going to be a little bit of plumbing modifications that have to take place. Also, some additional work that would come with this water heater is a condensate line. Again, because the heat pumps on it, it does create some condensation. So you want to make sure there's a place to drain that condensation out. As noted here, best locations, garage or unheated basement. And again, just placement is everything for this unit. Now, against the standard electric water heater, as you can see at the bottom, it can save up to 60%. Super efficient machine. I think these are using, depending on the model, they're running around $111 to $113 a year to use. Definitely a big jump from going from a standard gas or electric that's, again, going upwards of $300 a year. Definitely a big savings. So again, this slide just shows you the filter. They're in different spots. So again, the maintenance piece, definitely a good idea to kind of have the slide in here as we talk about heat pumps. A lot of people forget about their filters after these are installed. Typically, your filter, I always tell folks, let's look at it maybe in a month or so. If it looks clean, give it another month. You basically are just kind of looking at it to make sure you find when it starts to get dirty. They're easy to clean. You can brush them off, use water to wash them off. They're reusable. It's not a throw it away screen and have to put another one in there. They're reusable and will last quite a long time. Some of the filters are on the side, depending on the brand. Some are on the top, just like this one here in this photo. So another heating system we don't see much of. Boy, I'd like to see a raise of hands if anyone has one of these in their homes. The example here that we have right now is a stand-in unit. So the stand-in unit is also a heat pump water heater. The difference between this heat pump water heater and the one we just showed previously is that this is a split unit. So the photo there on the left has the heat pump and it's actually outside the home. Pretty much like if you have AC in your home, you'd see the heat pump for your AC outside, or a heat pump system for your home. Pretty much what this is. So it's actually creating the hot water while it's sitting outside. And through line set, some pipes that we have to plumb to the tank there on the right, would go to the water heater to heat the water. It also works as a coil style. So it's indirect. The coil wraps around the outside of the tank and then heats the walls of the tank. Two differences between this mini split, I actually would like to say, and the standalone heat pump is the refrigerant. So in the heat pump systems, the standalones, there is a very safe refrigerant that's used, never really needs any maintenance on them. With the stand-in unit, it doesn't use refrigerant, it actually uses CO2. So again, much more environmentally cautious product. Also very much more efficient per manufacturer. When you can see down there, we're saving up to 70% on our utility costs. This one here, definitely more of an expense than, say, a standalone unit. People would go to this unit more so if the water heater is in a spot where, let's say, we don't want that noise at all. We can't duct the machine. Again, with the heat pump being outside, the tank doesn't have to be ducted. All the noise is also outside. So some of what we hear in the industry, the negative side of a standalone heat pump system, that's where this unit definitely kind of gets rid of some of those negativities. Again, definitely a more expensive unit. It's 2 pieces, and also the installation, you're not just putting it in one spot, you have 2 different places to work with. And then the electric also has to be ran outside to the heat pump. So solar water heating. We don't see a lot of this in our area. It's not as common. Like a solar system, you've got panels that go on the roof. They're different than what you're used to with electric, if you're used to PV systems. So you don't have, basically, it's not doing anything with electricity with the panels. What's happening with these panels is they're taking the UV just like a standard solar panel, but what they're doing is they're actually, with a pump system, processing the water through them from the tank. So in this example here, you can see there's a pump, and that pump is pulling the water from the water heater, passing it through the collector, and then returning it back to the water heater. It's a very efficient way to do water heating. Obviously, climate would dictate how well it's going to work. There's some newer stuff that's come out in the years with solar water heating. Again, most people are used to panels, but they also have tube systems. And the tube systems work really well because, unlike a panel where you're basically just one direction standing, looking straight up, if you will, off the roof, the tubes actually work with the movement of the sun. So as that light is moving across during the day, it's actually grabbing that array from the sunlight from, one direction as we move through, and until the sun goes down, it's going to grab as much as it can. So there are options. A lot of times we see and hear in the industry that if folks already have electric solar systems on their home, it's already taking care of the water heater. So at that point, would you need both? It really is to what you're looking for and what the best system is for your home. But if you didn't have solar and you were looking for like one of the most efficient ways to do it, and you've got a lot of sun, that this is a really good way to make hot water in your home. Again, the systems are not inexpensive. There's lots of work to do here. Sizing, again, is everything. Make sure you have enough collectors on the roof to give you the water output that you need. Also, a lot of space. This photo shows one tank. You can do it with a one tank system. Some folks will do storage tanks, so you would have a separate tank next to it as well. Again, pretty costly system compared to the other ones we've talked about. But again, it's all a matter of what works best for you and your home, and of course, where you're located. So this is an add-on for your water heater. Definitely helps in the water heater industry. You're going to hear a lot. If you were to have someone come in and say, "Yeah, I need a hot water heater," and all you're talking about is the hot water itself, how are we going to make that hot water? Recirc pumps are very important. I'm really big on recirc pumps, because what we usually will run into, and you folks can think about this with your home, is that no matter what water heating system you have in your home, whether it's the best one, it's tankless, it's heat pump, that water still has to get from the water heater to your fixtures. And depending on how far those fixtures are, you could be sitting there waiting. I've heard people say they're shaving while they're waiting for the hot water to get to their shower. We've heard upwards of 3 to 4 more minutes than that sometimes. But the idea here is that if we can put a pump system on your water heater, then what we would do is be moving the water from the water heater throughout the home, through the fixtures, kind of like this diagram here. And what it's going to do is basically give you hot water at the source. So instead of waiting for hot water to get there, when you turn your faucet on or your shower on, that hot water would be there already. So some homes are built with what's called a recirc line. So that means it's basically like a third plumbing line is the easiest way to describe it. And it's just passing from the water heater, going past each fixture. Again, kind of like this is depicted here. And it kind of takes a stop at each fixture. So there's going to be hot water at each fixture as that pump is processing through that pipe. Now, if your home's not plumbed to have a recirc line for a recirc pump, it's not a problem. The add-on devices work really well. Like the photo here to the left, there's a Watts blue pump right on top of the water heater. They do have to plug in, so you need power for the unit. This particular one is timered. So you'd basically just choose the time of day that you like to have the hot water. And again, if you're not plumbed to have this pump, then we usually will try to find the furthest fixture in the home, and we put in what's called a bypass valve. What that bypass valve does is creates what we call a crossover. So now it's using your existing cold water line to push the water back to the water heater. Sometimes people will see that when they turn the hot water heater on for this type of system, or excuse me, when they turn the hot water on and draw the hot water from the water heater, again, you'll have that hot water there with it being timered. It'll cool if it's not set to come on at another time of the day. So you might have to wait, but you can choose all times of the day. The other thing that can happen is when you turn on your cold water, there's nothing wrong, but because it uses the cold pipe to process that hot water back to the water heater, you'll get a little bit of a little warm water might come out right away. Again, it's nothing wrong. It's just part of not having a built-in line. So it gets a little deep, but hopefully this helps. And again, any questions along the way, you guys are welcome to ask. So energy efficiency ratings. Gas storage up top is 60, and kind of work your way down the condensing gas storage, electric storage, tankless, hybrid heat pump. Now, if you notice on here with a hybrid heat pump, the big difference is we got a number there in front of our decimal point. So 3.5 is huge. So if the heat pump itself, again, is probably, on by statistics, is definitely the most efficient electric water heater that we could put in a home today. And solar, then of course, with electric backup, comes in second on that. Sometimes we'll be talking to folks and kind of talk about efficiency, and we try not to get too technical with folks, but when it comes to what most people are concerned with is cost. So, this energy factor would relate to a cost. What is my energy cost to run these units? So if you have a gas water heater, you probably already know today that with gas being, much cheaper than electric, that the cost to operate is going to be cheaper in most cases if you have a gas type, even a storage tank versus the tankless. The electric, because our electric prices are so much higher than gas, that's why it's kind of hard to compare and say you're going to save money. But if they were both the same, you definitely would save more money with the heat pump water heater, or you see the solar electric backup systems here. But we just want to kind of give you an idea of what the energy ratings are for each type of these. So considerations when purchasing. Obviously, I would say number one, initial cost. I mean, everybody's concerned about what it's going to take to keep hot water flowing in their homes. The cheapest way, obviously, is what, the industry standard, like for like. What do you have? You kind of swap it out for that. Not always the best way. Again, what are you looking for? Are we looking to move from gas to electric, which we hear a lot about today? Do you want to stay with gas but try to use less? So really, the cost of the unit going in your home is really going to be up to the type of home, what you're looking for, the product you want in your home, and kind of you go from there. Efficiency definitely, again, goes to that cost, right? How much is this going to cost me to operate? So the efficiency is going to be, it should be a huge factor for most people. Again, we kind of talked about fuel costs, so fuel cost, electric cost, but then also the availability of the fuel. Some folks live in an area where there is no natural gas running to their homes. They could use propane. You can use propane to run a tank, although propane is considered much more expensive. But again, depending on the unit you want in your home, there is a way to still have that fuel at your home so you can run a gas water heater. So life of the equipment, how much are we going to invest in this product? How long is it going to last until I have to purchase another one? So those are things to think about. Some of these water heaters do have, better lives than others. First hour delivery, that's really big. So the first hour delivery pretty much relates to tank water heaters, and based on how many folks are in the house, how much hot water you use really kind of is going to dictate what size of a water heater we should put in to get that first hour delivery up to where you're not running out of hot water within reason, of course. Size of the system kind of goes back to a lot of what we were just talking about here originally, and how many folks are in the home? How many bathrooms do you have in the home? How much hot water is the house going to demand? Some folks have brand new homes they move into, and you get a garden tub, and that garden tub, you can't fill it up, and seems to be working fine for everything else. But houses are built and sized, and the water heater is sized to the home. So bathtubs, interestingly enough, they have what we call a fixture unit. So it sets up and says, here, this is what this water heater should do for this home with this bathtub. But if it's a garden tub, they don't take that into consideration. So with larger size tubs, if you use your bathtub a lot, or you put in a walk-in bathtub, you're going to need a larger system to make sure that you have more hot water to, be provided for the home and for your use. Climate friendly. Climate friendly is definitely big talks right now. So a lot of folks are moving from gas to electric. Some people don't want to. Gas water heaters, as we all do know, I mean, you get your recovery rates much faster on a gas water heater. Tankless, you get that instant hot water, but those both use fuel. So a lot of people are trying to get away from that. Climate friendly again goes to, if you think back when we were talking about the heat pumps, what type of refrigerants do we have in the heat pump systems? Again, the standalone has refrigerant, where our sanding unit, that separate the pieced unit where the heat pump goes outside and the water heater tank is inside. Very expensive unit, but much friendlier for the environment. Maintenance, definitely a consideration. What type of maintenance do you want to have to worry about with your water heater? So again, going back to all these other points, maybe maintenance isn't a big issue if I have a water heater such as a heat pump where I've got to change the filter once in a while, but it's much more efficient. It's not using fuel. So, a little give and take, if you will. Big consideration for any water heating system is the location. So the location of your equipment. What's the size of the space? What type of water heater are you putting in? That's going to ask for, like a heat pump water heater needs a little bit larger space because it's using that air in the room to heat the water. Location of equipment for gas driven appliances. Some people are, maybe their house comes with electric and they want to get gas to their home and or put a propane tank in, and they want to put that gas water heater in their home. Location is huge because we want to make sure that we have proper airflow. We don't want to create any carbon monoxide issues in the home. Also, the space for a gas water heater has to also be large enough for the combustion air requirement, basically for that fire in that water heater to do its job to create hot water. And then lastly on our list is vented or unvented. So gas water heaters, they need to be vented. There are different types of venting. If you were to go from a standard tank gas water heater to a gas tankless unit, the venting is different. Some people think that they can use the same ducting. Some machines use metal ducting, some use plastic ducting. And now that we get into the heat pump water heater, again, venting for that unit is important, because if it's in a space where you don't want the cold air blowing in from the heat pump water heater, then you would have the choice to be able to vent that out as well. Alrighty, so we're putting this slide up again. Tacoma Power is with us today, and I think I'm going to let John take over from here and kind of talk about this slide. And just thank you all for listening to me go.
Thank you, Stephen. So at Tacoma Power, we have multiple different rebates for hybrid water heaters. And this is for Tacoma Power customers that have currently an electric water heater and would like to upgrade to a hybrid water heater. And we have a rebate program, a loan program, and a deferred loan program. For the rebate program, it's $500. For the loan, it's a 3-year, 0 interest loan for $2,200. And then for income qualified customers, we have a deferred loan program, which is there's no cost down. You get the rebate and the loan, and you pay back the loan when you sell your house. We have multiple ways to take advantage of this. You can get a water heater installed and then apply for the rebate or loan. You can also go to Home Depot or Lowe's, and there's immediately $500 off, and should be bumping up to $650 soon, actually, at the point of sale. So buy the water heater, get the automatic discount. And then we've also had a limited time flat rate program with Great Northwest Installations, and that is a fixed cost, $3,000 for the water heater plus permit and taxes, and then you get $500 rebate and a $2,500 zero interest loan for 3 years. And that is going to be available for Tacoma Power customers until the end of the month. So if you're interested in it, it is a good idea to go quickly for that. Any questions about the rebates, loans for hybrid water heaters? Also, I saw a question in there. Does the recirculating pump work with a tankless water heater? Stephen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So with tankless water heater, older styles. So I don't want to mention this only because if the question comes up and you already have one in your home, if it's an older tankless, there's some issues, but you can put an external tankless, an external pump on the tankless. But there's new tankless water heaters out today that actually have circ pumps built into them. So kind of as we were talking about circ pumps earlier, the system works in many different ways. So let's say you have a tankless unit with a circ pump built into it and you have it installed. If you already have a circulation system in your home, then it can be tied to that. So we can remove your existing pump, tie the line into the tankless unit, and it's going to work just as it did before. If you don't have a circulation pump system in your home, then you can do kind of what we were talking about, doing it as an add-on. So we could still put that bypass at the furthest fixture and turn the pump on. The tankless units with the pumps in them is definitely the way to go, other than an external pump, because the tankless unit is working to communicate with that pump, and there's different settings that you can do, and just works really well to get that hot water heater there and know when the water needs to be there. The difference, I would say, it's kind of an important piece to this, is that with a tankless water heater, since you're basically, when you demand water, you turn on a faucet, it's pulling that water in cold and sending out hot. That's when the water engages. So you've got the water heater fires up and gets you hot water. If you have an external circ pump on a tankless water heater that's not communicating with it, and let's say you've got that pump running all the time, that water heater will continue to heat water. And that is like the last thing we want to do. So that was another issue that came up in the past with units that didn't have circ pumps on them, is they get installed and the unit would just be sitting there running all the time. One of the other issues that you would have on doing that as well, and the reason why they didn't work so well on the older systems, if you did an external pump, was that the pump, even though it's pulling water, it actually doesn't pull it enough to engage the unit. So with a tankless water heater, it has to recognize movement of water. And if it doesn't recognize the movement, then it won't engage. So again, just kind of reiterating that if you're going to get a tankless water heater and you have water you've got to wait for with your standard water heating system, get the tankless with that pump in it. It's going to take care of two things for you.
Thank you. And then the next question, can the split system tie into an existing heat pump system?
Ooh, great question. Great question. I wish we had those here. So they're on their way. So that is one thing I know we're working on diligently to see when and how we can get these in our hands. So there are systems out there, and I think when we get there, here, when I say here in America, they're definitely out there in other countries. When we get them, it's really going to game changer for efficiency in our homes. Again, you're talking about using an electric system versus burning fuel, and having that split system where the heat pumps outside being able to heat water and utilize it as heating inside your home. It's going to be a wonderful thing to kind of condense down. I mean, you save space without having, to do a lot of different things what we're used to with our heating systems today, water heating systems, much quieter system to use, very, very efficient. So someday they're going to be here, but yes, they do exist.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
All right.
I'm not seeing any. Janda?
Okay, well, that was really well done. Thank you so much. I learned some new things. And for folks watching, you can go into the chat before we stop the session and do, I think you can do a Control A, and then just copy, or you could copy just little bits and pieces as you want them, but maybe just copy the whole thing and put it into a notepad or a Word doc or something, and then you'll have those resources. I also put in, I think I don't see it in my chat showing on my screen, but I put in for upcoming webinars, or to watch the recorded webinars rather. If you go to this, these are all recorded, so they end up on the city's YouTube channel. So if you can go to youtube.com/City of Tacoma, and then search for, look on the playlist and look for EnviroHouse and EnviroHouse workshops and EnviroHouse how-to videos. And it will take probably, I don't know, a few days, maybe up to a week, depending on how busy our media team is, to be able to get this up online. But it will be there, so you can go back through it again and review the recording. And then you have links in the chat and in the, I don't know if they're going to be in the last slide on this one, but if you need the contacts that are in here, you can email me and I can send those out to you as far as reaching Great Northwest. And then we have two more. This is our last webinar for this year. We have two more workshops coming up. The next 2 Saturdays, we'll be doing on-site pruning landscape trees and pruning fruit trees. And then done for this year and picking up again in January. We're already scheduled through April and scheduling also into May and June. So hope you can join us for another event. And thank you so much to John and Steve and Prima for this presentation. I thought it was really well done and new for our setup here. And so I'm really happy to be able to have this information available for people. In fact, I'm going to email somebody right as soon as we get through who was in this week asking about water systems. So unless you guys have anything more to add, we can end the webinar.
Great. Thank you, Janda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen Prima.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. No, thank you for having us along. We appreciate it.
Okay, and thanks to those who attended, and look forward to seeing you at the EnviroHouse. Bye.
Take care,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
And in the web.